Hi, my name is William Allen. This is my Module 1 for AEP 855. Just a little bit about myself. I grew up in a small town, Brewster, Kansas. Less than 400 people. I graduated high school with 8 in my class. I went on to Benedictine College, which is a small Catholic college in Kansas on the Missouri River, and I got my bachelor's in elementary education before returning to Colby, Kansas, which is just about 20 minutes from my hometown of Brewster. As far as teaching, I have taught in a small Catholic school for the past 3.5 years, and K through 5, it's about 80 students. I taught second grade for a year and a half. In the past 2 years, I've moved on to fifth grade. Some more about my personal life. I have been married to my wife, Katie, for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in July. She was in that first slide. And our daughter, Rosalie, joined us on March 7th of this year. So she is just about 3 months old, and life has changed a lot with the pandemic and our little girl coming along, but it is awesome, and I have loved parenthood so far. Some other hobbies include sports, reading, watching movies, and spending time with family, as well as frequent napping if possible. So, looking at some of the mindsets of successful building leaders or principals and successful leaders in schools. So, the three mindsets that were put forth in the research were that all students can learn. So, regardless of their situation, disposition, gender, age, whatnot, all students can learn. And holding that belief is essential. That the next mindset is that teacher collaboration over isolation, meaning that they mentioned that the smartest person in the room was everyone. So putting everyone's ideas together and collaborating is always going to be stronger and more beneficial for your school than working in isolation. And the last assertion they put forth was that happiness and optimism are a decision, not something that just happens. So they mentioned that you have the choice to be optimistic and that you have the choice to change, which gives you a certain freedom. And I would agree with those assertions. The only thing that I would add as a Catholic would be that the premise that all students can learn comes with the idea that everyone is made by God, and that gives them dignity and worth. So that's the only thing that I would add to that. But I believe that all of these are important as far as mindsets go. Next, we were looking into the dispositions of successful leadership, and they were marked as having confidence, being a risk taker and decisive, having a sense of humor, being emphatically assertive, and being a learner. And again, I would agree with all these dispositions, and I will talk about some strengths and weaknesses that I have personally later on, but I would agree that the leadership that I have seen has been lacking some of these in our own school, but the good leaders that I have seen absolutely had these dispositions. I would add also that it is important for a leader to have a disposition. I would call it a disposition to be approachable and relatable. That kind of comes with having a sense of humor, and they'll talk about it more a little bit, I think, in the next, but I would add that to the list of being relatable. And then finally, the practices that were put forth in this article that were found to be in the successful leaders that they were studying were to focus and prioritize tasks. So not getting distracted by something that's not quite as important or that doesn't have as much meaning or is not necessarily need to happen right now. Examining feedback and data and using that to make decisions and move forward. And then having emotional intelligence. So being able to make people feel like they are valued, and again, that, like I had said before, being relatable and able to read a person and understand what they are trying to get across to you. And finally, in the second article that we looked at, they set forth 8 principles: having personal courage to stand up for what you believe in, even if people are telling you otherwise, putting the public interests ahead of yourself, having self-control, self-discipline, and integrity, putting tasks and employee at the center and not yourself, so worrying about them rather than just what you want, recognizing talent in those that you have underneath you, requiring high ethics from everyone and demonstrating those ethics yourself, and having a sensitivity and understanding to people's needs, and finally inclusiveness, so making them feel like all stakeholders, whether it's students, parents, teachers, other staff, have a voice and a part in the educational process. So going through just a quick personal critique of my own strengths and areas of improvement, I just picked one from each category. So I do believe in the growth mindset, and I do believe that all students can learn, and I firmly believe that is one of my strengths that I do hold. However, I am guilty of not collaborating in times of need and trying to solve problems on my own rather than going to those with more wisdom or different ideas. I have a love of learning, and I hope to keep learning all my life. On the flip side, I can struggle with decisiveness and getting caught up in those details like they talked about and trying to plan everything perfectly before making a decision. And again, I do believe that one of my strengths as a leader would be to have emotional intelligence. I'm a fairly empathetic person, so I'm pretty good at gauging moods and intentions, and I do feel I relate well to people. And on the flip side, as a whole school especially, and myself personally, I could improve with feedback and data and using it, not necessarily collecting it, but using it to inform decisions. And last but not least, I believe that I do put others before myself, and that comes fairly naturally as a servant leader. But it can be hard at age 25 to have personal courage with some beliefs because I don't have much experience, and people might tell me that I don't have the experience to support my claims. So that could be something that I could work on as well. Thank you for watching my presentation. I look forward to the rest of the class.